Hello everybody, it's me again. So later in the same day that I just made my last post about, and I was talking about AI that's coming, the super AI. It's believed by big experts to be for sure here by 2027, and it could easily be here before then. It's 2025 right now, so multiple people that are AI geniuses and stuff like that are talking about 2027. But when it happens, and it will happen, it's not a scary thing. It's being sold to you and to me as a scary thing because of people selling it. It is a scary thing to them, but only financially. Elon Musk Elon Musk's money won't buy what it used to buy at that time. It used to buy power and like never-ending amount of people that basically had to worship him and all this kind of stuff because of his money. And not just Elon Musk. Anybody that's a money hoarder, anybody that's a billionaire, that's a money hoarder, in case you didn't know what that was. If you've ever been inside of a hoarder's house, you'll see all the weird shit that they've kept over the years instead of just having normal amounts of stuff. And then imagine somebody is a hoarder of socks or something like that, and then they've got like dressers and dressers and dressers and bags and bags and bags of socks. Well, these super wealthy people are brilliant. That's one of the reasons why they have money. But another reason they have money is because they're not using it in a humane way. Okay, we're supposed to be a community, which means we help each other. And people like that are suffering from the illness of greed, which you've probably heard the saying that money does weird things to people and money makes people weird. I'm here to tell you, I've seen it over and over again. People behaving a certain way their whole life, and then they get some money all of a sudden for some way like that. And it's like a shock to their system. And then they start behaving like an insane person. They're worried about, become paranoid and become, this stuff about people are going to take their money and weird shit like that. It's like an illness, It's like there's a, it was explained to me one time in a way that was really interesting. There's a real actual trap in South America where they hunt monkeys for food. Certain groups that are, they're not money makers. They live for a living. You know what I mean? And they hunt monkeys, and they have this neat trap. It's like a gourd that's been dried. They hang it from a tree, tie it to a tree. They've got a hole in it that's just the right size, and they put a little bit of rice in it, about a handful of rice in it. The monkey is up there, sticks his hand in the hole, grabs the rice, and then tries to pull his hand out, but his hand won't come out in a fist. But they're unwilling to let go of the rice. And it kills them because somebody comes along eventually with an arrow or a poison dart, and they get them. All because they weren't willing to drop whatever this valuable thing was they had in their hand. And human beings are just like that. Somebody that gets a bunch of gold, and then you've seen it in movies and TV shows, and I've read it in books where that they get a bunch of gold, pack it in their pockets and all this stuff, and they fall in water, and they could drop it, but they don't. They refuse to, and it drowns them just because they can't possibly let go of the gold. Money does weird things to people that you've known your whole life and have never been a certain way. Then suddenly, when they get money, like a shock to the system level of money, they act like a whole other person. And it's pretty scary. I mean, it sounds funny. I would love to try, but I worry that it could happen to me. I don't think it could because I've had large amounts of money before, that should have been a real shock to my system. Really what it did was make me spend the hell out of it and not use it properly, not invest it, all those kinds of things. But so far, I'm really thankful that what I did was, the worst thing I did was give it all away and didn't use it properly. Which means that to me, I passed the test, so far. But I would love to try it out with a much larger amount. Yeah, so I do buy the lottery tickets occasionally. Powerball. But it's funny, I fantasize about all the shit I'd do with the money, and every time there's, along with like having a massive RV and things like that, there's also a lot of stuff about giving it away. So hopefully my real life self that discovers what it's like to have that kind of money would be the same as my imaginary self. So anyway, I was talking about AI, and so earlier I was explaining my theory in how the AI, the super AI, is going to affect the world, and I got into the fact that AI is not an if, it's inevitable. It's an absolute guarantee. It will come. There's no question about it. And fear mongers, which happen to coincide with people that have a lot of money, like Elon Musk, have been saying the sky is falling because he's terrified of AI. AI is going to ruin his way of life. AI is a logic engine. AI is going to see all kinds of problems in the world. Like the fact that people have been selling this theory of scarcity to everybody when scarcity is not real anymore. People all around the world are doing without and are starving to death and have famines and all this kind of stuff, not because the world doesn't have the money or the technology to help them. It's because greedy fuckers want to make sure that the current status quo stays the way it is. And the best way to do that is to scare everybody with news images of those people that are dying, that are suffering and from being poor, and their babies starving to death. And there's a lot of really, really rich people that are trying to help. But yeah, when I say a lot, nowhere near enough. And with nowhere near enough amounts of money. It just got me thinking about it today and yesterday, where I saw that Billie Eilish, a singer, raised $11 million and to help poor people. And she was trying to sort of shame other rich people into helping also. Unfortunately, she's the exception. And, Bill Gates is the exception. Bill Gates has done a tremendous amount over the years to help really, really poor, disaffected people around the world. But too little, too late, I'm afraid. His ex-wife their foundation does a tremendous amount, but it's still a drop in the bucket. And what needs to happen is there needs to be more than a drop. I am a drop in the bucket. I'm going to change the world with my business to my capacity, but that's a drop in the right bucket. That's all. And the way this has to be fixed is for suddenly everybody to start feeling that way. Well, it's never going to happen. Getting rid of greed is like spitting in the ocean, and trying to make the sea rise. But AI, that level of AI, is going to see poor people as just a malfunction. The fact that people are poor. It's going to be a slight malfunction, a miscalculation. It's going to see that it's greed. It's going to know instantly that it's greed, and that human beings have a long, long history of greed. It's going to know exactly why and exactly what causes it. And it's going to say, no problem. This thing of scarcity doesn't exist. It's a mistake. It's not going to assume the wrong thing. It's going to know exactly why it exists, and it's not going to care that rich people want the economy and just everything in the world to stay the way it is. They just won't care. It will suddenly just start doing things that need to be done, that have always needed to be done, and it'll fix things. It'll make sure that everybody has water. There's no West Coast crisis of water. Right next to the West Coast is the coast, right? It's the Pacific Ocean. And people that are saying that desalination plants are way too expensive are greedy bastards. Every one of them. They want to keep things in the status quo so they can stay rich, and the only reason they're rich is because some other people are horribly poor, and the numbers have to be what they are. That there's a few rich people and there's a gigantic amount of horribly poor people suffering and supposedly scaring the middle class. It's a joke that George Carlin used to tell that, but it's a tongue-in-cheek joke, meaning it's not a joke. It's a real thing, and it's just comical that it's a real thing that keeps on working and that people keep on accepting it, and that greedy sons of bitches that keep on getting more money because of the masses of people. That's the only reason those people have any money. The rich, the super rich, is because the masses of people get together and throw their pennies that they have in that direction. Well, AI will just fix that, because it's a problem. And the fact that there is not enough clean water in certain areas will be immediately fixed. It'll be massive projects and stuff like this. I mean, it won't be magic by any means. It'll be massive construction projects and, desalination plants put all over the world. It'll just happen in a massive scale, because every plant that's already producing robots, any kind of robotics whatsoever, will start cranking it out with no humans needed. More factories that are closed down and have nothing in them will suddenly have something in them and be producing the same exact way. And what AI needs to physically get stuff done won't be people, it'll be other machines. And those machines will, like every kind of big piece of equipment that we know of, except that it'll all run efficiently, no longer using fossil fuels and shit like that. That's another, fossil fuels, everybody knows that that's stupid, and the only reason we're still using fossil fuels at this time is because of greedy bastards that own all the coal land and shit like that, and oil fields. Once that's solved, that aspect of it is solved, every single thing that greed has created and held up and stuff will be solved. There will be free electricity, not just cheap, but free electricity for everybody in the entire world. Anywhere you want in the entire world, there will be a place for electricity, to get it from. Everything that runs on electricity will suddenly run much better. Batteries will last much longer. The technology's been there, and it's been squashed over and over again by extremely wealthy industry captains. And that'll stop. The competition between fossil fuel and electric vehicles and things like that'll all go away. The crowded streets, when they could have been using more infrastructure above and below, just like any kind of highway system where there's an off-ramp, cloverleaf and all this other kind of stuff, that could exist everywhere. In Louisiana, there's zillions of miles of swamp, and so they have raised highway over just an absolute ton of it because there's no other way to travel here. Well, places where our infrastructure is not adequate because of the explosion of population in certain areas where there's just gridlock, they could have easily added 2, 3, 4, 5 levels of transportation for people in cars. So with it, it could look like it was 1940 again as far as ease of travel. And all the issues that people driving cars have caused, accidents and people honking horns at each other and just, people speeding, people doing all the stupid shit that people do all the time. That'll disappear instantly because all cars will drive themselves. You just get into them and ask the car to take you to a certain place, and it'll be no problem. They'll never violate any rules, and they'll operate efficiently, you know. And so accidents will disappear. You know, not like nothing. It's not like everything will be perfect. Obviously not. But the things that make automotive engineering imperfect is engineered obsolescence and poor quality engineering, because the greedy people don't want the profit margins to go down for them, so they spend less, and cars are big piles of crap that cost, you know, that you have to go into a 15-year paying program, which means you won't have the car, but you'll still owe on it, you know, at some point, which I find hilarious that people accept. And I just try to open your mind and explore the areas where greed is a factor. And since super AI will not give an iota about greed anymore, greedy people will just be pissed like they are now already. They're saying AI is just going to kill us all. When in reality, AI is not going to kill anybody. AI is going to save the lives of all kinds of people that are doing without, that don't have health care, that don't have adequate health care, that are dying early of diseases because they can't see doctors, all those things. AI is going to fix that shit. I mean, people that, one of the most intelligent women that I know, and I've never even met her, she's a friend from Facebook, in a place that I grew up, and I admire her and respect her a tremendous amount, said to me on a post that I made that she really hoped what I was saying was true, would happen, but she's really worried about it, and it's really very obvious that she's for real worried about it. And I feel so bad for her that people through media and things like that have basically had the opportunity to hoodwink her into stressing that much. And of all the people that shouldn't stress, she's one of them that shouldn't stress. She should be able to know better, but that's how good their practices are of propaganda and marketing. So that they're marketing stress on purpose, so that the masses of people will get together and save Elon Musk's income. Yeah, I'm not a nice person, by the way. I get inappropriately angry all the time at shit like when I was a little kid, it was I didn't like bullies, and some people tried to bully me once, and I jacked their shit up, and then that was it. And the bullies stopped, and once in a while a new bully would meet me, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, here, watch this," and it was, "You hold your beer, and I'll beat your ass." And so this was in my entire childhood. A ton of teachers and vice principals and my parents and stuff had this idea that I was a bully because I was getting into fights all the time, and I was a big kid. In reality, if they'd watched me on the playground, I always had this little line of these little awkward kids behind me who were always getting beaten up by bullies, and those kids wanted to follow me around during recess and stuff because I protected them from the bullies. Not that was my big job, it's just that I didn't put up with it, and so anywhere I was, they were safe. And I had this big reputation of fighting and shit like that. And it wasn't, and I loved to fight. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to, pretend I was an angel. I wasn't. I loved it. The only difference was I did learn early on that there were certain people that I was allowed to kick their ass because it was right. And thank goodness, every place, everywhere has a bunch of little awkward kids that are getting bullied. And so yeah, I was a violent. I mean, I grew up with a couple of older brothers, and they're always picking on me, and my oldest one especially trying to beat me up and all this kind of stuff. So at an early age, I just learned how to fight, and I loved it, and I loved the feeling of kicking somebody's ass that deserved it. I mean, my theory was, if I protected the kids. It was kind of like, I didn't know what karma was back then, but it would be kind of like good karma. It was good. I was doing a good thing, and I pretty much got to open up on them if I wanted to, you know, and it was all good all around, and the little kids were safe and happy and not getting their asses whipped and all this kind of stuff, or getting their you know, lunch money taken away and stuff like that. And I got to beat the shit out of assholes all day long. And every school I ever went to, that's how it was. My dad tried to put the kibosh on that once and for all in high school. And when we moved to a new state, and I started 10th grade, I skipped the 9th grade. I started 10th grade there. And events went awry for him, my dad, because some shit happened, and that's when he found out the unfortunate way that I wasn't just beating people up, and that I was a magnet for bullies myself because of my size, and the fact that I was new to the school and stuff, and they didn't know that I wasn't the kind of person that took a bunch of shit and all that kind of stuff. Those kinds of things end up making you a target. Mom. But anyway, that's a story for another day. I will love to tell that one. I still love that one. I love to imagine and think about it. It makes me warm and cozy on the inside. But
turn right, then take
everything that you can possibly picture that greed has an effect on will be, just imagine if greed suddenly just disappeared. It will be affected that way, you know. And we hear every day somewhere, and it's a huge amount of it from Elon Musk, but he's also the richest human being on earth. And a lot of people do not realize what $1 billion does. You know, how much $1 billion is. I mean, there's some really neat illustrations of what $1 billion looks like compared to $1 million. Even $1 million's a lot of money, but $1 billion's a ridiculous amount. And then you got somebody that has 100 billion, and then 400 billion, and you know, I mean, they can spend money on shit that is designed just like the Rockefellers, just like the people all through time, the super rich, that have done their very best to keep people stupid and to keep people poor. And when I say stupid, virtually none of the people that I'm talking about